it takes people to get all this stuff done, and you can't keep throwing bodies at problems, so you need to incorporate technology to mitigate how many people are involved, and then that's what you can amplify impact and reduce turnover. So let me pause there. Any questions? Does the framework make sense? Is it clear? Yeah. I know it's a lot of talking. Okay. I'm not going to go through box by box here, but this is essentially the polar opposite, right? So ignoring the past, barely surviving the present, jeopardizing the future. These are things you do not want to do. You do not want to waste time and money because there's unclear, undocumented policies and procedures. You don't want to have a gamble. You don't want to gamble with an unrealistic budget. You don't want to undermine how many tomorrows are possible because you're managing cash inefficiently. You don't want to lose your trusted employees, board members, or key partners because there's toxic culture or ineffective execution. So the goal here is to kind of paint a picture of what it looks like when you're doing it in the ideal sense, paint a picture for what it looks like when you fouled it all up, and then for you to assess where on the spectrum in between the non-ideal and the ideal, do we have? Yes, good point, Salam. We're going to share all this, so you get it as a PDF, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay. In my book, I go all in with the medical references because I think it's kind of relatable to people. So if you think of your audited financial statements at some point, if you're a nonprofit or a school, your forecasts, your metrics, your reports, those are like the lab reports that you get. So when you go to your primary care physician, they'll give you your blood report, they'll give you all these different reports, and that's what they're using to examine your health. What I'm sharing, the cures and the remedies, they're like the proven practices, and that's like the diet and exercise of how to become fiscally healthier. So like, these are things that you can do to get your numbers into a better place because, these are the practices. And then the warning signs are the causes and the symptoms. So these are the troubles that organizations may face. The goals are basically to prevent organizations from being shut down because of financial mismanagement. We want to empower people to understand responsible financial management and make informed decisions. We want you to understand the ideal and non-ideal. And then if you end up outsourcing some of this or all of this or hire in-house staff to manage your finances, we want you to hold them accountable to these set of these set of procedures. Okay, so probably 5 more minutes of talking, and then we'll break out into groups just to set some expectations. So cause 1 is wasting time and money because of unclear, unfollowed, or undocumented policies and procedures. You want to establish and evolve these roles, responsibilities, policies, and procedures. So symptom number 2, because I skipped around and you covered the financial terminology in a previous session from my understanding, we want to make sure that you document and follow your financial policies and procedures manual that you document. We don't want you to have any kind of internal controls without proper documentation and or execution. Our template is like 60 pages, if I'm not mistaken. Some people will say, here's this one sheet, that's our documentation. I want you to have something. So in this initial stage, have something, but you want to have controls where there's this person is cutting checks, but somebody else is doing the bank reconciliations. Or this person is purchasing, but somebody else is doing the accounting for it. Like, so that there's not one person who has too much control over all the processes, because that's when the fraud can actually happen. Symptom 5 is unqualified staff and or consultants, right? So if they don't know what the hell they're doing, they have no place in your organization, right? You really want to hire and retain experienced staff and or qualified consultants. Word of mouth travels, so speak to the clients of the people you're looking to hire, the past employers of them if they're willing to share it with you. But I'm big on the experience. If the education may not be there, that's okay for me, but again, it's different for everybody. This probably goes without saying, but I just want to explicitly call this out. And then, setting up and maintaining the accounting infrastructure, there's too many people who underestimate the power of accounting. So they'll say, accounting is just a little bit of bookkeeping. Any old person can do it. And quite honestly, that pisses me off. I'm like, no, this is a profession. It's not just data entry. They'll call it data entry. It's like, no, you need to know where and which category and which, account code to book these things against. If there's restricted funds, you need to be able to tag each one of those restricted dollars on the expense and revenue side. There's lots of intricacies to it all, but I hate when people make it sound like any old person can do it. So let's take this one apart a little bit. In some cases, you have inadequate due diligence setup or training with accounting software. You really need to carefully select and implement the software as well as provide training.
Information notice?
Software nowadays should be intuitive.
Did you get the community notice about the?
So
no.
Make sure that the software is working and it's not like you have to read manuals and some stuff to get it. Symptom 7 is bungling the classification system for accounting transactions. So you want to satisfies all your stakeholders. So for the nonprofits, you want to make sure that your management team is satisfied, your board is satisfied, but the board may not want to see as much detail. Your funders, your lenders, your auditors, everyone is going to have their say on how well you manage your finances. If you're a charter school or independent school, they have some sort of regulatory agency, an authorizer that's involved. If you're a for-profit entity, you want to make sure that you're seeing the level of detail that you need to see, so the categorization is really, really important. Just two more and then we can go into a break. Symptom 8 is not understanding what GAAP is and the difference between accrual basis and cash basis accounting. You want to understand generally accepted accounting principles and the differences between the two types. Can I have a volunteer to describe the difference between accrual and cash? If someone's willing, please say no.
I can.
Okay.
Hi, this is Sydney. Sorry, I'm not on camera.
Yeah, that's okay.
And I know this intimately because we just switched from cash to accrual. So cash is like recognizing the revenue as it lands in your bank account. It's basically how most people budget their actual lives. So if someone, let's say you have a 12-month package and someone pays you like $1,000 in March, in cash you would recognize that $1,000 in March because that's when the money hit your bank account. However, if it's accrual, you would recognize only like a 12th of that in March and then a 12th of that in April and May and June until the package is complete. If it's a 12-month package. Now, if it's like 5 hours, like we have, you would have to figure out, when those hours are being used and in what months to recognize that $1,000. So even though you may have like the $1,000 in the bank account, and let's say you have, $800 of expenses, cash would say that your March was, 200 positive, but accrual would say it was actually in the negative because it doesn't recognize the full $1,000 in 1 March.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And a lot of organizations, if you're a for-profit entity, you may be, given the choice where you say, well, I'm going to go cash basis because then any checks that I get in December, I'm going to wait to deposit them for next year. And yes, that can be true, but maybe tax preparer says, if the IRS audits you, they're going to look at all your debits and all your credits based on all your bank account activity, and that's it. It's a cut and dry audit. There's no negotiation whatsoever, right? So if you're accrual basis, and I'm not trying to push you one way or the other, the for-profit today. He said there's a lot more interpretation. There's a lot more potentially running circles around the IRS agents and all that kind of stuff. So
Hey, Caleb.
I was like, that convinced me to remain accrual basis. But again, a lot of nonprofits will be required
Can you look up?
basis.
Can you look up like
You
a
have
really
to watch both,
high
but
quality,
you cannot be intermingling
affordable
the two.
security
Then that
system?
gets confusing. And then symptom 9 is difficulty finding and filing and finding source documentation. So you want to utilize systematic and ways to file and locate the source documentation easily, right? So there's pictures of binders here. Everything is usually electronic at this point. But if you want to be old school and be paper-based, no problem. Just have really organized ways to track it all. What we say within our company is like, if there's no backup, then it didn't happen, and we need that backup of stuff. So if it's electronic, the naming convention is really, really important, because if you name it one way in one file and then another way, then you'll have an electronic, a mess of all your electronic files. So now let's break out into these groups. Probably sick of hearing me talking for 20 minutes, but consider yourself a beginner, expert, or somewhere in between, just to get on the same page with your smaller group. Do you have the internal capacity to manage the accounting yourself while you're in the startup phase? And if not, who do you plan to turn to for help? So let's how much time do you have? 10 minutes? 10 minutes? Okay. Great. And if you also have questions for me, please think of those too.
I'm good. How are you? Oh, I'm good. How are you? One more time?
But I'm here.
You're here.
These sessions just happen at the most inconvenient time during my day. Because I am at my part-time job, so.
Understand. Yeah, 3 hours is a solid chunk of time. That was actually
Especially
the only,
like the middle of the afternoon.
yeah, like core engagement time.
Not for the learning survey.
Yeah.
Okay. How are you doing?
I think similarly had a I'm here moment yesterday, or I'm here day yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm always so like, go isn't the right description, but like it's always like just trying to do more to create what I'm doing. And I just kind of stopped that last night. Didn't try to do nothing. Just for a moment. It didn't last that long, but it happened.
Oh, gosh. But at least you tried.
I think it had an impact for sure. But they're doing construction upstairs in this space, so sorry for the hammering.
Okay. At least you had some time. Good.
Yeah. So what are we talking about right now?
Do you consider yourself a beginner, expert, or somewhere in between with accounting and finance? That question.
Definitely somewhere in between. I mean, I've done a impact venture capital fellowship where we did some like accounting and finance training, so I can look at my numbers and do my numbers if necessary. It's not like something I enjoy doing at all, but I'm familiar enough with it to like know what's going on.
Yeah, I have to feel the same way. It's like I know what to do, but I don't like it, and I avoid it. My numbers are scary to me. So I avoid it as much as possible, which is why we have an account. Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah. And then also, but you haven't accounted for that, so.
Which is nice. Somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, sorry, I have that noise going on.
No, you're good. That's fine. I'm just muting.
And then the the other one was, do you have internal capacity to manage the accounting yourself? If not, who do you plan to turn to for help? Do you have an accountant?
Kind of. I mean, my friend set up my QuickBooks and connected it to my bank account, and so
Okay.
all of that is there's at least that process that was started
Yeah.
about a year ago. But as far as like doing taxes and stuff like that, no, I'm gonna have to get somebody to do that here pretty soon.
Pretty soon. Yeah, come up the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
This will be the first year we probably do real taxes because we made a few dollars last year, not much, but
Yeah.
I think we made like.
Yeah, we started doing the long form of the 990 last year. Last year was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I should say 2024. We brought in
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money. So we started doing the long form last year. It was
Mm-hmm.
so expensive. But I prefer someone else do it instead of myself because
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Smart.
I do
You
not
don't
like
gotta
it
think
at
about
all.
it. You don't gotta worry if you did it right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's been nice to have. But I
Mm-hmm.
still don't like numbers. I hate numbers.
No, I get it.
I think it's scary. Oh yeah.
Where are you based?
Say that again.
Say where are you based?
Baltimore.
That's right. I knew that.
Can't wait to get to New Orleans. So I'm excited about June 9th through when is it? Till the 11th.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna stay
Okay.
the rest of that week. Yeah. I'm gonna stay
Might as
until
well
that
stay.
Friday.
Might as well stay through Juneteenth.
What is money?
She said, "What is money?"
I wouldn't want a hotel hop, and I know the Four Seasons is like
Oh yeah.
insanely expensive.
So
You know what I mean?
you're extending your stay with the Four Seasons?
Yeah.
Man, y'all rich, man. Y'all rich.
I need it. But I wish. Look, I was like 2 extra days. 2 extra days.
That got to be a rack.
Yeah, just about 462.
I hope they give me a hotel.
Professional development. Say that again.
I said I hope they give me a hotel.
They better. They will. Even though you don't get it, they still will.
I think so.
Yeah. Because everything is happening at the border. So I would imagine that they would still.
Yeah.
I love New Orleans. I love New Orleans so much.
Say that again.
But I love New Orleans so much.
Same.
It's like a cool place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I took my dad there last year. Was it
So
last
you
year?
brought your dad here last year?
For the very first time.
Oh wow.
Not like it.
You say he did not like it? What did he not like?
That he felt like it was too much like Baltimore, which is very similar to Baltimore in some ways. But he felt like he had to keep his head on a swivel. Like he was nervous. He felt unsafe.
Sounds like that's in his
Like
head.
going down Bourbon. Exactly. Exactly. I said, Dad, you're not. But he did enjoy the food. He's like, I don't know if I'll go back. Food was good.
Oh yeah. That's what we're best at.
Did they say how long we were in?
I don't know, I mean, but they only gave us 2 questions that are pretty much like yes or no.
Right.
So.
I actually went to Who's your coach?
Ava. I don't know what she goes by. I got confused.
How's that been going for you?
It's good. I think she's a good fit for what I'm trying to do right now. Yeah. What about you?
Too. I have Zach, and he's a pretty good fit
Yeah. Who? What's their
as
name?
well. Zach,
Mhm.
Zach, I believe is his last name. And yeah, he's really great. He
Yeah.
asks a lot of
You
hard
said he does what?
questions.
Ask a lot of hard questions.
He asks, I need to think about these things, but I have to.
Say that one more time.
I said I don't want to think about these things, but I have to. So it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
those questions.
Yeah. You're gonna have to face it one way or another, right?
Right.
Either by choice or by force. That's what they say.
Yes. Spirit. About that time.
Yeah.
Good talking to you, Kwame.
You as well. You as well. Things are gonna
See
be
you back
okay.
around.
Yeah, I'll see.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Still I rise, Maya Angelou vibes. How's it going, Trent? Oh, you're looking mighty comfortable over there. It's good. Did you know that Jada is an influencer? You're not?
Recording in progress.
Anyone willing to share what was going on in their breakup room?
I did have a question, or we did have a question.
Please.
So our nonprofit has a treasurer, and we have bookkeepers. And so I think that question of like, where are you in terms of like beginning, intermediate? Like I call myself somewhere in the middle, like an intermediate, not an expert. But I'm trying to figure out like how much. So I manage our cash flow, and I know our daily cash flow. I look at our bank accounts several times a day, probably at least once a day. Like how much do I need? Like I don't understand QuickBooks, but I don't want to learn. Like, and I feel like I might not need to because I have a treasurer and a bookkeeper. I don't know. Is that like how much do I need to know if I have other people?
That's a great question. Yeah, so a lot depends on how competent they are, right? So sometimes a board hires a treasurer who's just like, they didn't say not it fast enough, and they're like, okay, I got stuck. So that's one thing. But if you know what you're doing, I would make sure that, it's not overkill. Like, it's not the walking type that's things so complex.
Chat. We signing off because this is just getting out of hand. It's way too loud in here.
Are they able to coherently communicate an answer to the question, right? So that's where you'll build more and more trust. There's a bit of a danger when you just look at the bank account because the bank does not know which payments are still in transit. If you're doing old school checks and,
Well, we have the cash flow spreadsheet, so we like I have to forecast the expenses in there as well.
Okay, good. So then it's, because a lot of times, the example I always give is if the bank says you have $100,000 sitting in the bank, but you just cut checks of $95,000 yesterday and they're still in the mail and whatever, your net amount is actually $5,000, and I don't want you to be making decisions based on thinking you have $100,000 in the bank when you only have $5 grand left. So that's the main thing I look for, is like, are you dealing with the net amount that's out there, and are the reports that your bookkeeper putting together, are they backwards looking only? Are they budget versus actuals only? Or is that bookkeeper also forecasting through fiscal year end? Because I care more about where the numbers are headed, and have the ability to detect, like, oh no, in April we're going to run out of cash, like, and what can we do about that now, right? So it's the whole game is about where the numbers are going, not only where they were.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. Thanks. I think I manage the cash flow forecasting, and I think our bookkeepers are mostly backwards, but that might change soon in the future. But I always have to know where the cash is going.
Good. So it looks like you're divvying up a lot of the stuff between the treasurer, the bookkeeper, and you. So that's a great combo. Like, as long as you're not expecting the stuff that you're doing, expecting the bookkeeper to do it, and they're like, no, I thought you were doing that, right? It's just being on the same page about it all.
There's a question from Paige in the chat.
Okay. Roles between treasurer, CEO, bookkeeper, CFO. Yes. So there's some documents that I can send you. We created a bunch of impactful one-pagers. Right now, they are intended for, some are for charter schools because that's the main client type, some are for nonprofits in general. I'm happy to send those over to Salon and circulate them accordingly. The treasurer is typically on the board, right? So governance, the thing that I like to, I forgot to share with this, but like I said, management is how will we do this, and governance is how well are we doing this, right? They're how will versus how well is the delineation. Sometimes governance is managing, sometimes management is governing, and it gets all blurred, and we have an activity about, like,